Hi, I'm Claude Whitacre. I give sales seminars. I talk to groups of salespeople. I speak at trade shows. I'm talking to people that their income is determined by how much they sell. If that's you, I think I might be able to help. Well, one of the things I get constantly is people from the audience asking me things about what if they have a feature in their product that people object to? What if you're always getting the same objection about the product or service that you give? What do you do about that? Well, for example, I'm going to give you an example. We sold for a long time. I sold, and I had a group of offices, and they were stacked with salespeople, and we all went out and we sold the same product. We had one product, and it was a vacuum cleaner. It weighed a lot. It weighed like 35 pounds, which is a lot for a vacuum cleaner. And you know what? We would get the objection at the end of the presentation. They'd say, "Boy, that looks really, really good." And then the people would pick it up and they'd go, "Oh, it's just too heavy. We just think it's too heavy." Or they would call the next day and cancel because it was too heavy. It was clumsy. They didn't like it. Heavy and clumsy. Okay? Well, there's several things we could do. We could cut it in half and make it lighter. You know, we could just not sell the whole thing. We could lighten it up by taking out one of the motors, I suppose. We could sell a different product, or we could brag about that problem. And here's what we did. And try to think of ways to apply this to your business, in your product, in your service. Here's what I did. I said, well, first of all, let's change the language. Okay? Instead of saying it bulky, let's say substantial. Okay? Instead of saying heavy, let's say made of quality materials. Okay? You get a lot for your money. You get a lot. There's a lot to this machine. In fact, it takes up a lot of room because it does an awful lot for you, and it's a little bit heavy. Now, here's the first thing we would do in the presentation. I instructed all my salespeople to do this. The first thing we would do is say, now, we'd take it out of the box, and the first thing we would say is, now, I just want you to know that everybody that sees this really, really likes it. There's just one problem, and I want to make sure that it's not going to be a problem before we go any further. It's very well made, it's very well constructed, it's made very sturdy out of very heavy and strong and sturdy materials, and the quality is very, very high. But for some people, it is just a little bit too heavy for them to carry. And I would turn it up on its side with the handle right there and say, could you do me a great favor? Could you reach over and pick that up and make sure that that's not going to be too heavy for you? I just want to make sure before I go any further. And they'd reach over and they'd pick it up, and it was heavy. But they would pick it up and they'd go, no, you know what, I can handle that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure before I go any further. You know what now? Nobody ever at the end said, well, you know, I would buy it, but it's too heavy. You know, we never got that. See, you need to brag about your problem. If your product has one objection that it keeps bringing up over and over and over again because people see one thing about it that they don't really like, you got to brag about it. You got to bring it up first before they bring it up. Because when a customer brings it up, before they bring it up, before they bring up the problem, they're thinking about it, and it's getting worse in their mind. And you don't want, at the end of that process of, you know, getting a head of steam, and I really don't like this at all, you know, you don't want them to hear this at the end of that process, it's too heavy, and therefore we can't get it. Because they've already gone through a whole buying thought process of why they shouldn't get it because it is too heavy. It's very, very hard to overcome that. But you know what, at the beginning, if you bring it up, it's not hard at all. It just becomes a detail of the product that you're showing them. Is this too heavy? No, 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 this isn't. It's heavy, but I can handle it. Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure. And now you go on, and you know what? That's never brought up again. There's a lot of different things you can do in the presentation so that anything that is a possible negative in your product becomes a positive, or at least becomes neutral. Now, I have to say this because there's a few of you out there that might actually be thinking, well, if I, you know, it's like they're thinking that might even be dishonest. Don't say something that isn't true, and don't try to hide the fault. In fact, I should tell you, there were a number of times when I would show them, here, would you pick up that machine? If they were a little bit older or they had back problems or something like that, they just would not be comfortable picking it up. Well, wouldn't you want to know that at the beginning? See? And they'd say, no, 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 that's, Mr. Whitacre, that's just too heavy for me. Oh, okay. I was done. You know why? There's no reason to show them the rest of it. It's too heavy for them. But if you bring it up at the beginning, chances are it's not really a big problem. It stands out later, you know, but it's not really a big problem if you just bring it up at the beginning. But if it is a big problem, you want to know before you spend an hour talking to them and getting them all excited, only to find out that except for that one thing that you never brought up, you know, it's a good machine. Because that's why people cancel, because they concentrate on that one negative. If you'd like to know more about creating more value for your customer and make buying easier for you so that at the end of the presentation, they're far more likely to say yes than no, or far more likely to say, can I get this, than, well, we have to think about it. My suggestion is that you read my book, One Call Closing. It's on sale right now at Amazon. Thank you.